I decided that this next part should be separate from the rest of the review because really if I kept all this information there it would slow it down too much, because this bit's less jokey and a bit more of a serious analysis of the changes made and how it kept close to the source material.
First off, the story. The film combines the plots of the first two games into one, and this causes most of the other changes. The first game was about Kazuya coming back for revenge on Heihachi in much the same way he does in the film. The difference is that the game ends with Kazuya fighting his way through the tournament, which takes place all over the world instead of on an island, fighting and defeating Heihachi on the very same cliff he was thrown off the edge before, and dropping his father off the edge. He then goes on to take over the Mishima Zaibatsu, setting the stage for the sequel. Tekken 2 has Heihachi climbing back up the cliff and making his return as Kazuya announces the second tournament. Jun enters this tournament to save Kazuya from the devil's influence. During this time they have a sexual encounter resulting in their son Jin being born. The exact nature of this encounter is unknown. The games have never gone into it aside from a line somewhere about Jun being drawn to Kazuya, so she may have been manipulated by Devil, or she may have just found Kazuya attractive. It's also possible that it was like that time Jackie Estacado was taken over by the darkness and impregnated Sarah Pezzini while she was in a coma. The implication in the animated film, however, is that it's consensual. I find it funny though that the last we see the two together is Jun unconscious, and after the kid's born, Kazuya is nowhere to be seen, so who knows. The film uses elements of both plots and does so fairly competently considering it was done in 50 minutes. But I have to wonder how it would have continued in the Tekken 3 adaptation with Lee and Anna being dead and Kazuya missing. The decision to do it in one story led to other changes being made, so now it's time to look at the characters and what the film got right and wrong. Kazuya Mishima. Kazuya's story is consistent with his Tekken 1 story, minus taking over his father's company. The film also adds the backstory with Jun when the game had the two meet for the first time during the second tournament. A number of elements of Kazuya's character in Tekken 2 were given to his brother Lee due to Kazuya not being related to the Zaibatsu here. I'll get into those later. Design wise, Kazuya wears his trademark outfit during the tournament, and his outfit before that bears some similarities with his Tekken 1 alternate costume. His hair is noticeably more Vegeta-like in the film, while in the game it looks more like a duck's bum. His personality may seem a bit more heroic by today's standards since he's currently the most evil character in the games, but he had a much more sympathetic portrayal in the first game, so it's accurate. Small changes were acceptable and they got everything they needed to right. Jun Kazama. Jun's story is mostly the same as the Tekken 2 story. She has no relationship with Lei in the games and she wasn't specifically sent to the tournament, but goes of her own free will. They likely added the backstory with Kazuya to better explain why she would bother trying to help. You see, in Tekken 2, he was possessed by the devil and was using his company for evil. In the film, he hasn't done anything high profile yet, so she wouldn't have a reason to bother with him otherwise. The design is consistent, bar the change from black to brown hair. She wears her main outfit before the tournament, but wears an original outfit during it. Her personality, from what little we know of it due to absence since Tekken 2, seems about right, but a lot of the things she says are just stupid. She can come off as too much of a paragon of virtue. Hey, Hachi Mishima. No, I'm never going to let that go. Heihachi is pretty much exactly the way he is in the games. A massive douche. And an unkillable one at that. His story is the same as the game version, but we're given more of an explanation for his throwing Kazuya off the cliff than in the games, but that's mainly because we're never really given a solid reason for him throwing his 5-year-old son off a cliff. He sadly doesn't wear his awesome costume from the games, but what he does wear isn't too bad. And having Daisuke Gori do the voice was a nice touch. Lee Chaola. Lee's personality is just wrong. He's more of a playboy type in the games than a power-hungry psycho like he is here. He does date both Williams sisters at the same time in the film, but it's more to toy with them for his own sick pleasure than anything else. As I said before, due to Kazuya's lack of affiliation with the Zaibatsu, Lee's responsible for a number of Kazuya's actions from the games, such as the creation of Jack, Alex and Roger, the possible kidnapping of Dr. Voskonovich, as well as having Anna, Bruce and Ganryu as bodyguards. Also, the game version lives for, as of this video, 24 more years as he's still around by Tekken 6. His physical design is the same, but he only wears a game outfit and promotional materials, and all he wears in the film is a purple suit, ironically Kazuya's formal attire colour. Lei Wulong. Lee seems a little more fun-loving and even misogynistic than his game counterpart, who honestly is more like the kind of character Jackie Chan would play since he's based on Jackie. The game's story is that he's investigating Kazuya's triad and mafia connection since, well, he's a cop from Hong Kong, not an agent for some wildlife organisation. His design is based on his Tekken 2 primary outfit, and he comes off as a nice guy like he does in the game, so it's not all bad. Jak 2.
The Jacks are a series of robots in the games, with each game introducing the latest model, with only a few of them getting an explanation of what happened to them. Jak 2, as the name suggests, is from Tekken 2. He was chosen over Jak 1 since Jak 1 didn't really have a story.
His game counterpart does look after Jane, leading to her later designing newer models in an attempt to recreate him. He also destroys the one and only P-Jak and doesn't speak. He also doesn't seek out help since Jane isn't ill in the games.
He simply looks after her until Boskonovich's rival, Dr. Apple, destroys him with a satellite laser.
Speaking of Dr. Boskonovich. The Good Doctor's game counterpart was abducted by Kazuya and later freed by Yoshimitsu in one of the most badass endings in the series. The whole thing with him developing a cure for Jane may be a reference to him trying to develop a cure for his cryogenically frozen daughter in the games, but that's it. Nina Williams.
Nina's outfit, personality and rivalry with her sister Anna are right, but the story is completely wrong.
She was hired to kill Heihachi in the first game, and then Kazuya in the second. She failed each time, so her inability to kill her target is pretty much spot on. She's also supposed to get captured and frozen to explain why she isn't over 40 by Tekken 3, since Namco hates women over 40. She isn't associated with Lee in any way in the games. Anna Williams. Aside from having black hair like a Tekken 1 counterpart instead of brown like in 2 and 3, Anna's design is pretty much correct.
Story-wise, she just tries to stop Nina from completing her missions despite her,
and isn't anywhere near as much of a bitch as she is in the film. The game version does actually care about her sister, as can be seen in Tekken 3, where she tries to help cure Nina of her amnesia. I have no idea why they felt the need to kill Anna off when she's supposed to still be alive 24 years later. Oh well, at least it isn't as bad as Nina and Anna's portrayal in the live action film. Michelle Chang. Another slight tweak to the backstory is that Heihachi is responsible for the massacre of Michelle's village, instead of just the death of her father, and Kazuya later responsible for kidnapping her mother. Her outfit is similar to a Tekken 2 outfit, but a little more baggy, and the top isn't open like in the game.
She also wears a second outfit from Tekken 2 before the tournament.
Ganryu. Ganryu is much more of a goofy kind of lovable oaf in the games.
What with his crush on Michelle and later her daughter Julia. Here he's much taller and just dumb muscle. In fact, Michelle is an obvious allusion to his crush, but it's otherwise left out.
Bruce Irving. Bruce has no story. They talk him up as if he's an impressive fighter, so he can be fucking killed by Jak to show how impressive he is. And Bruce is still around by Tekken 6. Alex and Roger. Both of these characters were created by Boskonovich and share a moveset, so Alex obviously boxes. There's only one Alex and he's much smaller than Rex. Like I said, possibly translation error since the Japanese pronunciation of Alex and Rex would be similar, but I have no way to confirm this. Maybe the name change was to show that it's similar but not the same. Unlike the film version, Roger does not in fact get left behind to die a slow and horrific death. He instead goes on to have a wife and son who replace him as playable characters and regularly beat him for being a lazy bum. No, I'm not making that up. Devil. The game version of Devil actually possesses Kazuya instead of just kinda hanging around. That's what all those flashes are, you see. References to Devil Kazuya, but that's as far as it goes. The game version still has the Devil leading to his son being able to become Devil Jin. Jin Kazama. He's a kid. Everyone else. Yoshimitsu, Martial Law, Paul Phoenix, King, Armor King, Becto-san and Kuma are all given cameos, but their backstories are left out. Which is a shame because they have much more interesting stories than Lee, Lei or Michelle. Maybe even more so than Kazuya, Heihachi and Jun. You have a luchador who fights to raise money for an orphanage like the legendary Frey Tormenta. You have a guy who's a cyborg ninja version of Robin Hood. You have a guy who's just poor and needs the money to support his wife and son. And even Heihachi's bodyguard Burr. So in conclusion, most of the characters look right, which is more than can be said about most video game movies. Most of them are written right, which is more than can be said about most video game movies. And the film follows the game's plot competently enough, which is more than can be said about most video game movies.
All in all, it's an average adaptation that I don't think is going to appeal to anyone who isn't a fan of the source material. Now for my next review, well, I already mentioned Street Fighter, might as well review that. Oh, and before anyone says, and no spooning or review Tekken, piss off.
Your hatred for your father has been consuming you since that day. I feel nothing but a cold spirit in you, just like a devil.
You don't know anything.